Alright, well, I found a mistake in my kit that was created by the previous owner, which means that I have to drill out some rivets, and I haven't really seen too many demonstrations of this on YouTube, so I thought I'd go ahead and just demonstrate how to drill out a set of rivets on a part. So here's what we need to fix. If you look at this piano hinge, it should have been cut at the edge of this part that's extruding right here, the circular part here. And the other guy had actually drilled into the part that was not where this is, which is a weaker part than this is right here. And if you look at the drawings, you'll see that there's supposed to be a 1/2 inch from the top of the vertical stabilizer down to the end of this piano hinge, and the piano hinge is cut at the thicker part, not on the skinny part. So what I'm going to need to do is remove that piano hinge all the way and put a new one in and re-drill it, because he has it drilled in the valleys rather than on the mountains of the piano hinge here. I'd actually already started to drill these out when I realized that this might be a good bit of video fodder to put up on YouTube. So I've already drilled out 3 or 4 or 5 of these. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this over and I'll drill out the rest, and I'll put a few of them on video. What I've found works pretty well is to use a set of small wire snippers, or dikes as sometimes they're called, and to hold the back side of the rivet. And then since these were already drilled out to the number 30 size drill bit, that's what I'll use to drill these out. Make sure you keep it nice and steady. Until the head pops off. You can probably see that still sticking on my drill bit here. I usually use a pair of pliers to hold onto that and just kind of twist it in reverse. Let me do one more here just as another demonstration. Grab it from underneath however you can. Try not to scratch any of the aluminum. In this case, these are pressed up against the stainless steel piano hinge here, so there's not much damage that I can do to it. So I'm going to throw that away anyhow because it's misdrilled. But clamp down hard and drill right in the middle. Hold it up straight so it doesn't damage the aluminum. We only want to damage just the rivet, and just enough that the head comes out. So if you look close, you'll see that the rivet heads are still in there. So if I grab it from the back side here, I should be able to just kind of wiggle this out a little bit. And there it is. Do the same thing on this one. And the hole stays pretty much the same size as what it was drilled to originally. So you can actually reuse the same hole again. Alright, so I need to actually cut this new piece slightly, make sure that it's evened up on the one side. I've gone ahead and filed down the cut that was on here before. It wasn't a very clean looking cut, so I filed it down. I've also marked where we're going to cut this off to be able to get that to focus here. And now I'm preparing the new piano hinge to put onto the vertical stabilizer. And I'm going to show you how I use this tool that I've made here. This is my 40-inch yardstick that I bought from Harbor Freight, and I drilled holes in it every 1 inch, starting at a 1/4 inch, so that the 1/4 inch is exactly halfway between this nub that sticks out here. And it's got a space, and then there's another hole right there, and another hole right there. And what I've done is I've lined these up according to the instructions for the aircraft kit. So it's the edge of this is going to mimic the edge of the vertical stabilizer, and I've drilled it so that the edge of this is exactly in the middle of this circle down here. I'm gonna if you're gonna be able to see this or not, but there you go. I have these clecoed now. I'm gonna drill out all of the holes in between the clecos. Right now, only the ones that are clecoed are actually drilled through. So I'm gonna drill out all of those holes in between. I'm gonna remove the piano hinge from the yardstick, and then I'm going to drill out a couple of these at full size and cleco them to the part over here. Probably just like, you know, in the end here where it starts and the end down there at the bottom where it ends, and then maybe one or two in the middle, and then I'm going to drill these all out right along with the holes here that are already drilled out to 1/8 inch or with a number 30 drill bit. So let's do that. So one thing I'm doing is I'm going along, I'm moving the template as well as the part that I'm drilling down slightly. I'm using the vise here to hold it in place, because if this bends because I'm pushing out here farther out or something like that, it could actually mess this hole up and make it not match properly. So I use the vise to hold it in place, and I drill near that where it's a lot stiffer than it is out here, for example. I've also put in the hinge rod here. And I'm making sure that it's not binding at all when I move it around, because if it's bound at all, that means that the hole's off and this has probably been pushed down or away from this. It's not straight. So I'll keep doing this. All right, all drilled, and I've removed the clecos. I'm now going to drill out just a couple of these to the full 1/8 size using my number 30 drill bit. Go ahead and deburr this a little bit so I don't scratch the back side of the part I'm attaching it to. Maybe I'll do one more here in the middle. Deburr this one a little bit. Alright, while looking at my plans, I realized that I drilled a hole in the wrong spot. So this is supposed to go up into here. I drilled this end one out to 1/8 inch, but that's actually not supposed to have a rivet in it yet. So I'm supposed to go from this one. So let me go drill a hole in the second one instead, and that's where I'll cleco it right there. Alright, so I have the second one drilled out to 1/8 inch. That's going to go right into that hole. Let me grab my cleco here. This is the garbage one, get that out of the way so I don't mistakenly put that one on instead. That should line up with the second hole just right. There we go. So I'm not super happy with where this hole ended up on the end one here. Off just, I mean, maybe a 32nd of an inch, but that much will make it droop down a little bit. So I'm going to actually drill some of these out. These are pretty tight over here on this side, so I'm happy with this end. I'm going to go ahead and drill these out a little bit first, the ones that are near this, and move up the line. And then eventually, the one that's a little tiny bit off, I'll just clean it up a little bit, and that should be okay. And then I'll have to remove all these parts and deburr everything again, and then we can start riveting it. Alright, well, there you go. It's been re-drilled. The slider here seems to go pretty well without much tension in it at all. I think it's pretty close to being right. Just gonna have to pull this thing apart and do some deburring before we rivet it all back together again. So while I was drilling out one of these holes here, my drill went through and it ran into this little lock nut and fastener bolt here. I'm not going to leave it like that because I'm not happy with how that's damaged. One thing I did notice though is down here on this section, you'll notice that there are several bolts of the same size. Is what I was just looking at right along here. And we get up to these four. These ones I believe are the same size as well. I'm gonna have to pull these out to look. But you'll notice that there's no thread sticking out the end of this on the end of this lock nut here. That's not okay. You always want to have at least two of these threads sticking out on the end. Like this one over here has probably 6 or 7 of them. This one has none. I was looking through the plans because I was a little bit concerned about that. And the plans say that they're just there temporary to hold things together. So what I'm going to do is pull out the fastener from this, and I'm going to move that down to this spot where I drilled and damaged the bolt. I moved that one over to here for the temporary holder. And I'm not sure if I'm going to have to use that later on or not. If I do, then I'll have to buy a new bolt and nut. And make sure that it's purchased properly from Sonex and not just something from like Home Depot or something like that, because that's not going to be equivalent. Verify they're the same size, which they are. This one will go in here now. Replace the damaged one. All right, and then next I got to figure out exactly how much torque to put on that. For now I'm just going to put this temporary one back in place here on the other one. This is the one that was messed up a little bit. Alright, it's all deburred. Time to start putting in some rivets. For this particular part, the directions call for the CCP42 blind rivets, which I have a bag full of them right here. I like to do these about every other one. So that the clecos hold them in place a little better. Keep it straight while you push down and pull the trigger. I have the regulator on my air compressor set to about 60 psi. I drilled out another piece of aluminum, spare piece that I had, put a few of these in and tried it out until I got a good number that works right without damaging the rivet, and pulled the pin all the way out. 60 seems to work just perfect. Alright, I have completed the task of putting in all these rivets on this piano hinge for the rudder. Looks pretty good. All of the rivets went in clearly. Didn't have any issues with any of them. Certainly added a lot of rigidity to the part. It's super strong compared to what it was when I just had clecos in it. The piano hinge, the pin seems to slide all right in there, so it seems to be straight as well. Pretty happy with that. I tried to fit the piano hinges together. Here's the rudder that the previous owner had built. I was finding there's a lot of tension in the piano hinges. I was trying to put the actual pin in, and if I'm looking down this rudder piece here, you can see that it's not very straight. I don't think that he did a very good job of keeping it straight while he was putting in the rivets here. If I'm just going to have to purchase and rebuild this part again. I'm not interested in doing that. It's probably a couple $100 worth of parts. Anyway, I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet, but it's pretty frustrating. If I look at the one that I did here on the vertical stabilizer, I think it actually turned out pretty straight. You can see the piano hinge here. See if I can get this thing to focus or not, but the hinge that's on this is pretty darn straight. It's the beauty of using a template. That's what this ruler down here does is it's got the holes already pre-drilled in a straight line at exactly the right distance, and I just had to line up the parts. Now I will say it's definitely easier to do the vertical stabilizer, the piano hinge on this. I think it's a bit easier to do this than it was to do on the rudder, because there's no pre-drilled holes like there were in the vertical stab. But anyway, I'm not terribly excited about how that turned out on the rudder anyway. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do.